Hi, my name is Barry Haas. I grew up in the Bronx in the 40s, had little access to water, did a little bit of boating, and then in the 60s I married into a South Shore family. They had the advantage of living steps from the water. They could see 3 lighthouses from the home. However, the closest they could get to any of the Boston Harbor Islands was out at Windmill Point at Pemberton in Hull, and that placed them about 400 yards from Petix Island, and that was it. At that time, there was essentially no access to the islands for those who did not have their own private boats. So when I married into the family, I purchased a 1968 Boston Whaler. It's now 43 years old. The family has used this to visit the islands. We've probably seen 8 or 10 islands from this boat, others by commercial ferry. I use this boat for fishing, and my favorite activity just about sunup is just before sunrise is to walk down to the marina, check the wind, hop into the boat. I'd carry typically 2 of 3 rods, depending upon how good I feel about myself. I'd carry a fly rod, lightweight spinning rod, or heavy trolling gear. So if I felt really good and the freezer was well stocked, I'd take the flies out. If we had a party coming up, or the neighbors were hungry, or we had family coming down, then I'd take the heavy trolling gear and possibly a spinning rod. I've probably caught and released probably 2,000 fish in the last 20 years. This is typical. This one I caught on a fly. It's mostly catch and release, mostly striped bass, often blues, and used to be flounder, although the flounder are coming back now, with the Big Dig cleanup. So it's been a great opportunity to visit the islands. I don't need a crew for the boat, so I can make a go no-go decision at 5 o'clock in the morning. I call the boat stopgap because for over 20 years it's been my stopgap measure to keep me from getting that large Grady white that I always wanted, knew I never needed, and knew I always needed crew for. While my wife had limited access, actually 0 access to the islands, my kids grew up knowing the beach, knowing the islands, and one day in 1988, when my daughter was 16, she decided she wanted to go camping on Petix Island. So she asked me to take 3 of her girlfriends and herself with sleeping bags out to Petix Island to do an overnighter. I did it in 2 trips. And before I did it, I contacted administration, I contacted the Coast Guard, I asked about water, carry in, carry out, safety precautions, etc. When the kids went out, I gave them flashlights, lanterns, I gave them a CB radio, and demanded that they call in every 2 hours. And I thought this was going to be a quiet evening. They'd settle down with the sun. 11 o'clock, I discovered my daughter excused herself from a basketball game on Petix Island in the gymnasium that I've yet to find. And they found some guys there. Were playing basketball. She excused herself, somewhat embarrassed, and called in to say she was all right. Meanwhile, I had just gotten off the phone with the Coast Guard to make sure that I'd be all right getting out there. And hey, it's been great. There are lots of fond memories, and I hope everyone gets to participate.